The tennis world has witnessed roaring crowds before. It has seen packed stadiums in New York, electric atmospheres in Melbourne, and the intimidating silence of Wimbledon's centre court during championship moments. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared the sport for what unfolded in Birmingham during the summer of 2026. This was supposed to be a quiet week on the calendar. A modest WTA 125 tournament. A grass court warm-up event. A routine stop before Wimbledon. Instead, Birmingham became the epicenter of a global tennis earthquake. And at the center of it all stood one woman, Alexandra Eala. The 21-year-old Filipino sensation who had already captured the imagination of millions around the world was no longer just a promising young star. In Birmingham she became something bigger. Movement. Phenomenon. A force the tennis establishment could no longer ignore. What stunned the entire tennis world was not only her performance on court. It was the sheer power of the people who came to watch her. Thousands upon thousands of Filipino fans flooded the historic grounds of Edgbaston Priory Club. Philippine flags waved from every corner of the venue. Chants echoed through the streets outside the gates. Entire families traveled across cities, countries, and continents simply for the chance to witness Alexandra Eala play one match. And perhaps the most shocking reaction came from the woman who had already conquered nearly everything tennis had to offer. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka. She arrived expecting a normal practice day. What she walked into instead left her speechless. Birmingham, England. June 2, 2026. 9 o'clock in the morning. The black SUV carrying Sabalenka slowly rolled toward the players' entrance at Edgbaston Priory Club. The Belarusian superstar stepped out calmly, dressed for a standard day of training and preparation. As a multiple Grand Slam champion and reigning world number 1, she had become accustomed to massive attention wherever she went. She had played under the bright lights of Arthur Ashe Stadium. She had survived deafening Australian Open crowds. She had experienced the pressure of Wimbledon finals. But Birmingham was not supposed to be one of those moments. This was a WTA 125 tournament. A smaller event. Quieter environment. Or at least that was what she expected. The moment she passed through security, the sound hit her first. Not applause. Not polite clapping. Roar. A thunderous wall of noise that seemed to shake the entire venue. Thousands of voices chanting in unison. Eala, Eala, Eala. Sabalenka immediately stopped walking. Tournament staff exchanged stunned looks as the noise intensified. Security guards turned their heads toward the entrance gates where crowds continued pouring in. Then Sabalenka saw the flags. Thousands of Philippine flags waving high above the crowd. Fans wearing jerseys with the number 37 on the back. Eala's world ranking. Children with painted faces. Grandparents holding handmade banners. Students wrapped in Philippine colors. Some had traveled from Manchester. Others from Liverpool and London. Many had flown directly from Manila itself. All of them had come for one player. Not for the world number 1. Not for Wimbledon champions. Not for a Grand Slam final. For Alexandra Eala. Sabalenka stood frozen for several seconds, simply taking it all in. Finally, she turned toward a tournament official and quietly asked, "Is this for the whole tournament?" The official smiled. "No, just for Alex." Sabalenka slowly shook her head in disbelief. Incredible. That single word would later spread across social media within minutes. But what came next shook the tennis world even more. Hours later, during a scheduled press conference, Sabalenka was expected to discuss her own grass court preparation and Wimbledon expectations. Instead, the entire room wanted to ask about one thing. Alexandra Eala. A Filipino journalist raised her hand and asked about the atmosphere outside the venue. Sabalenka leaned toward the microphone. Then she delivered a statement that instantly went viral across the sports world. "I've played in the biggest stadiums in tennis," she said. "I've played in front of crowds all over the world. But honestly, I have never seen anything like what I saw today." The room immediately fell silent. 25,000 fans at a WTA 125 event, she continued, on a Tuesday morning, for a first-round match. That's unbelievable. Reporters stared at one another in disbelief as Sabalenka continued speaking. What Alex Eala has built is different, she said. This is not normal fan support. This is something much bigger. Then came the line that exploded across social media. This isn't just a fan base anymore, Sabalenka said. It's a movement. Within minutes, clips of the press conference flooded every major sports platform online. Fans reposted the video millions of times. Sports analysts debated her comments non-stop. Even players inside the locker room began discussing the phenomenon openly. Because deep down, many of them already knew what Sabalenka had just confirmed publicly. Alexandra Eala was changing women's tennis. To understand why Birmingham erupted the way it did, you have to understand the journey that brought Eala to this moment. For years, tennis in the Philippines had remained a niche sport. Basketball dominated the culture. Boxing heroes were treated like national icons. Tennis courts often sat empty. But Eala changed everything. From the moment she emerged as a junior champion, Filipinos saw something special in her. She wasn't simply winning matches. She was opening doors. A young left-handed girl from Manila had dared to enter one of the most exclusive and demanding sports in the world and compete directly against global powerhouses. Then came the breakthrough. Her historic runs at major tournaments. Her victories against top-ranked players. Her fearless performances on the biggest stages. With every win, her following grew larger. At the Australian Open, Filipino fans packed the stands. At Indian Wells, entire sections of the stadium waved Philippine flags. In Dubai and Doha, crowds gathered hours before her matches. Everywhere she went, the same phenomenon followed. Energy, noise, passion. And by the time Birmingham arrived, that support had evolved into something unprecedented. Even Eala herself had acknowledged the growing movement months earlier. The Filipino community is very strong, she once explained during an interview. When one of us succeeds, everyone feels proud together. That sense of collective pride became the foundation of her global support system. This was no longer simply about tennis. It was about representation, identity, belief. Millions of Filipinos around the world saw themselves in Alexandra Eala. And now, the rest of the tennis world was beginning to realize it too. What made Birmingham even more shocking was the timing. Just days earlier, controversy surrounding Eala had already dominated headlines. After a physically exhausting clay court season, concerns about her fitness began spreading across the tennis community. Some analysts questioned whether she was pushing herself too hard. Reports surfaced suggesting that officials had advised caution ahead of the grass season. Then came the now famous controversy. Eala reportedly refused to back down. She insisted on competing. She signed the waiver. She chose to trust herself over public doubt. That decision transformed Birmingham into far more than just another tournament. It became symbolic. Every point she played carried extra meaning. Every victory became a response to criticism. Every roar from the crowd became louder. And perhaps nobody understood the significance of that moment more than Sabalenka herself. Later that evening, private conversations inside the venue reportedly revealed even more astonishing comments from the world number one. According to insiders, Sabalenka warned that the sport was dramatically underestimating Alexandra Eala's influence. The WTA doesn't understand what they have, she reportedly said. Those words immediately sent shockwaves across the tennis world. Because this wasn't praise coming from an average player. This was the world number one speaking. A multiple Grand Slam champion openly acknowledging that Alexandra Eala had become one of the biggest attractions in women's tennis. Sabalenka reportedly continued. They look at rankings and statistics, she said. But those fans don't care about rankings. They care about her. That observation perfectly explained why Birmingham felt different from every other tournament. The fans weren't showing up because Eala was expected to win Wimbledon. They showed up because she made them believe. And belief is the most powerful force in sports. When Alexandra Eala finally walked onto center court later that afternoon, the atmosphere became almost surreal. 25,000 people rose to their feet. The sound was deafening. Flags blurred together in waves of red, blue, white, and yellow. Chants echoed through the stadium walls. Phones lit up every corner of the stands. Even experienced tennis reporters admitted they had never seen anything like it at a WTA 125 event. Sabalenka watched quietly from the player box. Not as a rival, not even as the world number one, but as a witness. The match itself was intense. Eala moved with determination despite the questions surrounding her condition. Every rally felt emotional. Every winner triggered explosions from the crowd. And when she finally closed out the victory, the stadium erupted with a roar powerful enough to shake Birmingham itself. Yet the most important moment had happened long before the final point. It happened when thousands of people showed up for her before a single ball was hit. That was the real statement. The tennis world suddenly realized that Alexandra Eala represented something far larger than rankings or trophies. She represented connection. A connection between athlete and nation, between sport and identity, between dreams and possibility. For years, women's tennis had searched for the next generation of global stars capable of bringing entirely new audiences into the sport. In Birmingham, the answer stood right in front of them. A 21-year-old Filipina from Manila. And as Aryna Sabalenka watched the celebration unfold around center court, she understood something many inside tennis still hadn't fully grasped. This was only the beginning. Because movements don't disappear after one tournament. Movements grow. And Alexandra Eala's movement was growing faster than anyone could have imagined. The old standards of measuring stardom were changing. It was no longer just about Grand Slam titles. It was no longer only about rankings. Now it was about impact, beat, emotion. And no player in the sport was creating emotional connection quite like Alexandra Eala. As fans continued chanting Laban, long after the match had ended, Birmingham transformed from a simple warm-up event into a defining moment in modern tennis history. The world number one had arrived expecting routine preparation for Wimbledon. Instead, she left Birmingham with a completely different understanding of what women's tennis was becoming. The sport had entered a new era. And standing at the center of it all was Alexandra Eala, surrounded by thousands of flags, thousands of voices, thousands of believers, a phenomenon no one could ignore anymore.